Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. This is a message for Gemini moons, or if you have significant Gemini placements and are needing a feminine energy to work with or balance within yourself, then this reading is for you. So let's get started. I pulled your cards already, Gemini, and the reading's really interesting. I say that literally about every single reading, but it really is true for this one. Because I feel like there's a significant event. This is the overall context of your reading today, with the raccoon being your energy. So how I'm seeing this with the raccoon is, I always see this as sort of like almost like a reluctance to step out into the light is kind of how I see this. Like, it comes with a little bit of shyness, or like someone who prefers to stay anonymous, that kind of thing, or just like in the shadows, right? Someone who's reluctant to be sort of like the center of attention is kind of how I see this card. But with the owl here, I feel like this owl, because it's coming through with wisdom today, but usually I see this owl as being sort of like a gift or like a blessing or some sort of like good fortune is kind of feeling like, but it feels like the good fortune or the blessing is some sort of truth or understanding, or like a reveal of something, especially because it's coming through the golden egg, which to me is about the heart chakra. So it's kind of like, I feel like what's wanting to change here is this raccoon energy. It's like this energy is coming in, whatever this gift or truth is that's coming in. It's to get you to step out of the shadows, right? Like, be more comfortable in the spotlight, let's say, something like that. Because where it is you are now, which we'll go through in the cards, feels kind of like there's like it's just like there's something calling you forward is basically what this is talking about. It's calling you forward, but I feel like there's some resistance there, and we're going to talk about what that is. So for the fairies today, you have here the Singer of Transfiguration, the Nalise the Alchemist. So these are both transformation cards, right? These are like the Nalise the Alchemist is sort of like the fairy godmother who grants wishes, right? There's something, but it's a transformation from within, which is really interesting. It's a transformation from within that sort of, if you allow it, if you just sort of let go and surrender to the process, it absolutely it's going to be easy is kind of how this is feeling. So if you allow this transformation to happen, it will be easy. Okay, and then you have here the Glankener, which is really interesting because this one talks to me about it's like illusions and projections. So there's all of that. But what I was thinking about for this card was the Men in Black movies, if you've seen them. In the first one, there's like a character who is obviously like an alien, right? Like the character is an alien. But how it is that they live on this human world is that they have like this human body as almost like a robot or a machine. And so it's like that when they discover that person is actually an alien, like the head opens up and then you see this like tiny little figure that's living in there, right? So I have no idea what that means metaphorically. I feel like it's talking about that some sort of illusion, perhaps about significant connections in your life and perhaps also within yourself. There's like a truer or more hidden motivation that's being revealed is kind of how this is feeling. So like your own motivations or the motivations of those around you, or like the true nature of like the individuals or of yourself that's being revealed is kind of how this is feeling. And it's kind of just like surrender to the process is what this is talking about. So let's get started with your reading. So you have here the first card out. You have here the Laum, which of course is this energy of like, it's either, I feel like this is your energy today, Gemini, because it talks about unconditional giving, right? I feel like you've been giving a lot, or the opposite, you haven't been giving at all. It's one of those two aspects. It's like you've either been giving a lot to a situation, to a person, to whatever, giving a lot of your energy or not giving enough. And both of those two extremes cause wounding. It causes harm to you because it's imbalanced, right? So what this is talking about, especially because you have the Scorpion coming out right underneath this, is that the Scorpion to me talks, so I'm more inclined to say that you're not giving as much as you could be, perhaps, because of like wounding or being triggered or something like that, right? It's like it's defensiveness is what I see with the Scorpion. Somebody or an energy where there's been harm, and so it's always poised to sort of attack or be defensive, right? That's the kind of energy I get with the Scorpion. And it kind of feels like it's in regards to relationships, right? So there's the next card to come out here is the Singer of Connection, which is it talks about, in order for true connection to be made, there has to be an openness, a vulnerability, because in the vulnerability, that is when you become truly invulnerable, right? So the energy that comes through with this sometimes is in the movie 8 Mile. It's Eminem's like sort of fictionalized life story where at the ending, I think it is, like the climax of the movie, it's like a rap battle between two people, Eminem and Mekhi Phifer. And what Eminem does in that last rap battle is that, because it's usually when there's a rap battle, I feel like it's like they exchange insults, right? They insult the other rapper in like the most creative way. But for Eminem, what he did is that instead of insulting the rapper, he exposed all of his own flaws, right? So his rap was all of the things that he acknowledged and saw about himself, his own flaws, right? It was almost like beating up on himself so that nobody else could beat up on him, right? That's kind of the energy that I'm getting for you. But that could also be the Scorpion energy as well, right? It's like there's something here about like vulnerability, but also defensiveness, right? So it's like Eminem in that story had a rap where it was like he just said all the worst things about himself that he possibly could, so that when it came time for the opponent to do his rap battle or rap song or whatever it was, he had nothing to say. He had nothing to say and that's how Eminem won. But I feel like there's something there where that's kind of the energy that wants to change, because I feel like there's something here about, sorry, my chin is really itchy. There's something here about like, because of that, it's almost like you're further sort of reinforcing this energy, the Scorpion, by doing that, perhaps by speaking or saying things really negative about yourself, maybe. Right? Something like that. It's a defense mechanism so that others can't snap back at you, if that makes sense. Is that true? Okay. I'm not sure. Well, because here you have the Lovers and the 9 of Pentacles, which is really interesting, because it's kind of like, again, with more of this sort of connection opportunity. There's an opportunity for connection is kind of how I'm seeing this. But I feel like for you, Gemini, it's like you're choosing to be in the 9 of Pentacles, which is totally fine, right? There's no need for you to be in connection with anyone, right? It's kind of like someone who's choosing to be single, which is totally fine. However, I feel like that's wanting to change, because what you have here is the Knight of Swords, the World, and the 3 of Swords. So the Knight of Swords is all of this energy of like, perhaps like something to do with what you're saying is reinforcing this 9 of Pentacles, very independent energy. It's reinforcing that. And it's like with the 3 of Swords, it's preventing it. I feel like that's wanting to shift. That this is with the world here, the completion. I feel like this is coming to an end. I feel like that's what this gift of wisdom is being given to you, is that if you continue, or if by speaking a lot of negative things about yourself, it reinforces that cycle of choosing to be independent and not letting in love, right? Is kind of how this is feeling. And so it's really interesting because you have here, but I feel like there may be resistance in that shift, is kind of how that's feeling. That's sort of like the overall energy, is like how to get, how to shift the way that you're speaking or perhaps thinking about yourself as a person, in order to let in perhaps a significant connection, is kind of how this is feeling. Or even if it's not a connection, it's just letting in love in general. What's so interesting here is that you have the Piper, which came out. So this was on the other side of the Singer of Connection, right? So it's like there's some energy is calling you towards it, is kind of how this is feeling with the Piper. It's calling you towards it. A significant connection is calling you forward. But it's also, well, hold on. I just want to talk about the numbers here because it was doing this really interesting thing. So you're coming in with this 30. This is a 6. This is 24. So of course these two numbers together add to 30. So there's something there about, I don't know. I feel like it's just talking about a coming together. There's a significant connection that is a match to you, but for some reason I feel like you're seeing it like this. The Bodacious Bodak. This is a really interesting energy. It's talking about sort of an energy that's kind of annoying, is kind of how I'm seeing this, where it's like there's the story that's coming through with this, just to explain what this energy is like. It's like if you have like an office, for example, right? It's like you know where everything is. It may be a little bit of a mess, but you know where all of your things are, right? And so this one actually comes in while you're not there and like cleans up your desk, right? In an effort to be helpful. But then when you get back, it's like all of your things are in the wrong place, right? There's something, it's like in an effort to be helpful, but actually they've caused you more grief, is kind of how this is feeling. So that may be how you're seeing them. It's like this energy tries to be helpful, but they actually cause more chaos or more of a headache for you, is kind of how this is feeling. But it's like this is the same energy as this, which I feel like is something like that you're not wanting to see. It's like there some energy that is like annoying or just like trying to be helpful but not, is the thing that's calling you. Because the thing about this card is that it only comes through when it's like, you know, Gemini, that you need to do something, or like perhaps like clean up your desk, for example, right? You know that you need to clean up your desk, but you haven't gotten around to it, is kind of how this is feeling. So like this one's coming in almost to force you to do that, because now it's like they've rearranged all your things. So it's like forcing you to actually do the thing that you were trying to, like, that you haven't gotten around to, is kind of how this is feeling. So it's like this energy is actually beneficial to you because it's prompting you into action to do the thing that you are not wanting to do or have been putting off for whatever reason. But it's like the response to this one feels like almost irritated or like, but that's an energy that's coming from the Scorpion, right? It's because the Piper is an absolutely alluring and attractive sort of connection. I feel like it's a significant connection, but because your lens is through the Scorpion, there's a defensiveness or almost like an irritation, perhaps anger, because of whatever it is. It could have to do, it's so interesting how these animal cards come out. The lion and the deer. Because these two cards are, I feel like these two cards are my cards for the father, the lion, and the mother, which is really interesting. Both of these two cards coming out together. So the father and the mother And how I'm seeing this is kind of like you, Gemini, being the Laum. This pattern, this scorpion pattern, right? The defensiveness, perhaps not giving enough. Like, it could be that there's somebody here in your environment, but you're not giving them a chance or something like that, right? It's like you're not giving them a chance because you see them as being an annoyance, perhaps. And it's kind of like what this is talking about is that I feel like this Laum patterning of perhaps not giving enough or giving too much of yourself, one of those two extremes, is as a result of this patterning from your parents, perhaps, right? And I feel like that's what's coming to an end. I feel like it's not really wanting to go through all of this because I feel like you already know this, right? It's kind of like, because what's coming out underneath this is actually the Death card, right? So it's talking about an ending to this cycle because I feel like you already know this though, because it's not wanting to talk about these two cards. These are almost here to just explain, because this is where the Scorpion is coming from, right? The Scorpion energy, the defensiveness is coming from these two energies. Whatever it is that happened here caused you to become defensive and not trust any sort of opportunity or be defensive against opportunities because of the patterning from this dynamic here. That is what's coming to an end though, because I feel like the next cards to come out are actually really positive. It's like they're with the Death card, right? The significant ending. I feel like that's also perhaps what this golden egg truth is from the owl. They're bringing you a truth, and it's kind of just like, just allow the transformation to happen. It's almost like you don't need to even do anything. Even just acknowledging this pattern and the ending of it will allow it to transform, is kind of how this is feeling. Because you have here, right after the Death card, is this Ace of Pentacles, right? This new start, especially with the golden egg. And I was just noticing here in this Ace of Pentacles, you have here the lilies, right? Which is what comes it's almost like it's the flower for funerals, for sure, and to like represent death. But also it was coming through today as maturity. Like, I feel like there's something, because you've reached a level of maturity, that this gift is coming in, which is really interesting. And the Page of Cups, which is really interesting, because I feel like this energy is this Bodak, right? It's the one who's trying to be helpful, but perhaps is like, they're trying to be helpful, but it's kind of like, it's not. But I feel like, so if this is another person who's coming in, it's because I feel like you'll be seeing them, your perception of them will be shifting into more of a Page of Cups energy, which is kind of like, it's like they're stepping on their own cape, right? It's almost like they're like clumsy, or they're timid, right? It's kind of just like it's like a naive almost, perhaps, something like that. But what it is that they're giving you, this opportunity, right? Because they've done something to push you into action through their perhaps clumsiness, right? Or naivety or something like that. It's actually some sort of gift, is kind of how this is feeling, that's allowing you to shift. Because the next card here is the High Priestess, the Eight of Pentacles, and the Knight, or the Queen of Wands, right? So it's like, I feel like for you, Gemini, you're actually, whatever this person or this incident or whatever it is, this opportunity is, it's allowing you to connect more with your High Priestess nature. So perhaps just like connecting more with the moon energy is kind of how I'm seeing it, but I'm just seeing it as sort of like an inner transformation, or because the Glankener is coming out, the ability to see through illusions, right? You can see through illusions or through people's motivations or whatever it is. Like you have this ability to see things or to know things that is not commonly known to the general public, for example. And it's like, it's giving you something to work on, actually. It's with the Eight of Pentacles coming out next, it's like giving you something to focus on is kind of how this is feeling. It's putting something into action. And with the Queen of Wands too, I feel like this is all of this sort of transformation energy. It's more of a freedom from that sort of pattern of overgiving is kind of how this is feeling. And what I love here is that you have here the Crow. So this is coming through this. I feel like this is like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 readings in a row where the Crow has come out. It's talking about discernment. So I feel like it's like discernment and also wisdom, creativity in solving problems, using all of your resources, because the environment or the energy around you is tricky, right? There's illusions, there's trickiness in the energy. And so it's like the Crow is coming in to help you navigate that in order for you to also be able to see the truth about the situation, because the cards that are coming out underneath that are the Nine of Swords and the Ace of Swords, right? So the Nine of Swords is all the tricky energy. It's an energy of anxiety and worry, right? It's like this is the energy that's shifting, but with the Crow coming in, it's like it's allowing you to see the truth. It's allowing you to see past all of these sort of distractions, illusions, untruths, worry, all of this kind of like, this is not a favorable energy, but the Ace of Swords is. So you absolutely have two new starts, like two fresh perspectives, because it's the Ace of Swords, which I often talk about as truth, and then the Ace of Pentacles, which is perhaps a physical thing, right? Like a gift or a blessing or like just a new start. It doesn't have to be, though. I'm more so associating it with the golden egg. So it kind of feels more like within self or within your heart space, that kind of thing. A new start in terms of how you feel is how I'm seeing this today. Like a fresh new perspective is kind of how this is feeling, which is really lovely. And then what you have here next, just to close this message off, the Page of Swords, the Sun, and the Justice card, which I really love because I feel like this is talking about like a rebalance of that Laum energy. Because the Laum is somebody who gives unconditionally, right? It's like there's nothing wrong with giving, but it becomes an issue when it starts to harm yourself, right? So it's kind of like here, there's a rebalancing, and I feel like with the Page of Swords coming out, it's kind of like saying to you, Gemini, that you don't have to always be in a giving energy. You can sort of take a step back, is kind of how this is feeling with the Page of Swords, because the Page of Swords is one that does not take action. So it's like, there's one here, it's trying to like get you to perhaps like take a step back in order to discern what the best option would be. Because I feel like perhaps your natural instinct may be to give a lot of yourself always to a situation, right? Because perhaps that's what happened with your parents or whoever raised you, that kind of thing. It's like they needed you to give all of your energy to them, perhaps. And it's like this one's coming in to be like, you don't have to do that. It's not necessary. You can take time for yourself. You can step back for yourself, and you don't always have to be in 100% giving mode, is kind of how this is feeling to me. Because that's the Sun. It's claiming your happiness and being in a more balanced energy is kind of how I'm seeing this. So Gemini, I'm going to leave the message there. We're going to move to the extended and talk about what else you may need to know about the situation. If you're interested, link is in the description box below. If this message resonated with you, please subscribe, like, leave a comment. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.